I, 34 male, found out my significant other, 31 female, cheated on me. I'm not too sure if this is the right place for this, but here we go. My significant other and I have been together for 15 years, married for 6 of those years. We share a son who will be 3 this September. Our entire relationship we both were heavily against the idea of being intimate with anyone else but each other. I was cheated on by an ex and her eldest sister was a notorious cheater. Throughout our relationship she would tell me things like, "You'll die before you try to leave me," and accusing me of flirting with other people. I always placed that stuff in a category as a joke, even though it slightly bothered me deep inside. Last year was hard for us. We were new parents with a 1-year-old. My mental health medication wasn't as effective as it was the year prior. I've had depression, anxiety and bipolar 2 since I was a small child. This medication affects my sexual drive severely, and I have a low sex drive to begin with unfortunately. My wife has a extremely high sex drive. She literally wants it all the time. She is constantly reading pornographic fan fiction, hentai mangas, adult-themed mobile games etc. I don't shame her. A desire for sex is normal. But back to the main point. She was working from home and I was the full-time parent and housekeeper. I had to leave my job due to a severe mental health crisis just months before the lil one was born. During this year I would catch her sending nudes to a handful of guys on a couple of occasions. It hit me hard and I wanted to leave there on the spot, but she begged me to stay. Begged me to try and fix things. So I did. The year had its ups and downs between us, couples therapy and all that. By December we both were on the same page. We agreed to help each other give one another their needs. I explained what I was going to do. Get my medication looked at and changed. See what options are there to help increase my sex drive and such. She agreed to stop reaching out to others for her quick fix. I saw a psychologist before the Christmas break and they planned out a year process of switching my meds. The meds I was on is a highly addictive antidepressant and I was on such a high dosage that it was going to be a long process to wean me off of them. During the Christmas break my mother was put into the hospital and was in a coma. I live in BC and she lives in Ontario, so it was impossible for me to see her during this time. My brother would give me weekly updates on her condition. She ended up passing in mid-January. It hit me hard and I've still haven't processed it to this day properly. Around that time I was forward with her that I need some time to work through everything and get past the fact my mother passed away, and when I think of her in a sexual way, I see her sexting these guys. Fast forward to yesterday. I see on a not safe for work Twitter account she has that she posted herself having sex with some other guy. It was posted 4 days prior to me finding it. I asked her about it and she beat around the bush, avoided my questions. I asked when it happened 4 times before I got an answer of, "I don't know." In the last month, she blamed me for not wanting to have sex with her and she blamed our son for changing things between us. She blamed that I didn't listen to her needs, but I explained that she didn't listen to my request. I told her that I can't be the only one committing to change and that there needs to be a compromise. I grabbed my wallet, keys and phone. Kissed my son while he was sleeping and left. I immediately texted my only friend out here in BC to see if I could crash at his place. I turned my phone as soon as I got there. Now it's the next morning and I have to go back to our place so I can take my medications and be with my son. I'm at this point where I'm angry at her and myself. I feel like a horrible husband and father. I'm upset and confused. I don't know if I could look past this and stay with her, but I love her so much and don't want to leave. So I guess I'm asking for on what should I do next? Should I try and see if it's salvageable or should I just put my hands up and deal with the heartbreak? I have no choice but to interact with her and I don't know how to approach it. I want to be civil and calm. Too long did not read. Found out my significant other of 15 years cheated on me and shared the sexual interaction on Twitter. How do I proceed? Edit. So I have only read a few comments so far and I wanted to address a few things they've mentioned. First, my mental health and my medication. I do go to therapy and see a psychologist, psychiatrist regularly since I was 16. Every few years I have to get my medication altered, increased due to them gradually losing their effects. This year I recently started switching my medication over to a completely different medication. My wife was included in the decision to switch my medication over to the new one. I worked in the film and music industry for nearly 15 years, pulling 12 18-hour days 6 days a week. Sometimes 7 days 2 months straight. That took a huge toll on my mental and physical health on top of what my doctors have put it. my mental health slowly worsening over time due to its wiring. My wife was included in the decision to switch my medication over to the new one. I left work as suggested by my GP, therapist and psychologist. My wife also had a huge input and supported it. She led the idea of leaving work. We also looked at it as a bonus because I'd be able to carry the load when the child was born for her to recover. We agreed it would work best for me to be the full-time parent to the child as well. A few weeks ago my wife was let go of her job due to a merger. I'll try to fill in more details if they are needed. Edit 2. I just wanted to thank everyone who gave great advice from both perspectives. The clear-minded feedback helps a lot and reassures how I was thinking to proceed after taking some more time. I've reached out to a lawyer so I can work with them and see my options. Again, thank you to everyone for the feedback, supportive or negative. Salvage what? She sent nudes to multiple guys, cheated on you. Man, have some self-respect, she isn't the prize. Well, she is the primary moneymaker. Lawyer up and let her learn about alimony and child support. Have her served papers ASAP. Best thing to knock cheaters out of the fog. You can always stop the divorce. The main thing is don't play the pick-me dance. The hard work to fix this mess is on her. So sorry this happened. Get a STD test. DNA test the kid. There isn't anything to save op. She has no desire to be faithful to you. Your relationship is ruined, you can't make her be loyal to you. Break up. File for custody and move out op. She isn't even sorry. My 26 female, fiance, 32 male, left me alone in the woods. I'm sorry for the formatting or spelling. I'm typing this on the side of the road because I feel like I need quick responses on this. I have been with my fiance for 6 years. I am 26 female, he is 32 male. He has always had a short temper and often picks arguments over small things, but he's so very kind every other time that I have looked past it and maybe hope to help him chill out. He's funny and I really do love him. I do my best to avoid arguments, but sometimes it's impossible. Anyway, we had gone to a beach about 45 minutes away from home located in a state park which is not staffed or really patrolled well at all today, and had been drinking and swimming and having a generally good time. I remember feeling so happy and content because we hadn't argued in several days and he'd been in a good mood etc. We began to leave and started heading home, still in good spirits. The beach was located in a remote area and neither of us had phone signal to use the GPS to leave. He began to yell and take his anger out on the steering wheel and I instantly felt defensive. Like every happy moment of the day was crumbling right there because usually once this behavior starts, the day is ruined. I made the mistake of yelling back at him that he needed to chill out, quit making everything such a huge deal, etc. I regret this, but I just felt so overwhelmed. I just wanted the good vibes to continue, ya know? We argued back and forth for a few more moments before he angrily pulled the truck to a small paved parking lot where people usually stop to rest or grill food, that kind of thing. He screamed at me to get out and, like an idiot, I did, and he left me there. I sat in the brush and cried for a few minutes before a man approached me and started asking kind of uncomfortable questions about where I was from, who I was with, where they were. I tried to be friendly in the hopes my fiancé would return soon. But the stranger started touching my hands and offered me a ride home, and it made me scared, so I lied and said I had to go meet my boyfriend at a spot nearby and walked down the road quickly. I made it about a quarter of a mile away before I sat by a little pond where some people were fishing. I had no cell phone signal to call anyone to get me and I was scared to ask for help, so I just sat there and tried not to panic for almost 3 hours. I was alone the majority of the time, as when I arrived the only people around were already packed and leaving. From 4 p.m. 6:30 p.m. I was left alone in the forest, until I was able to find cell phone service after wandering for a bit and called my fiancé's mom to come get me. It is now almost 8 p.m. and I am extremely sunburnt and thirsty. I am quite pale and had been drinking all day until he left. But I finally walked far enough to get signal to call his mom for help. I haven't spoken to him yet, but he has sent several messages, that I just got, seeing as I had no signal. Basically just asking where I was and complaining that I had his wallet in my purse. I'm still waiting for my ride to get here, still very lost and upset. I feel so hurt and betrayed and as if this was a huge overaction on his end, but I do love him and if it's my fault I want to know. It was such a scary experience, which is why I feel it was too much. Edit. I wanted to say thank you to anyone who has left a comment since there are too many to reply one at a time. So, thank you. I am currently safe and staying the night with my mom. After my fiance and his mom finally found me after a stranger noticed me on the side of the road and drove me around the park for 15 minutes looking for them, they both started in at me that this is all my fault because I should have just refused to get out of the car to begin with. I realize that is what logic would tell you to do, but it's hard to be logical when you are upset, tipsy and being screamed at. He also claimed that he looked for me for 2 hours before leaving to rally help in looking. His mom swears up and down he's telling the truth too, but I don't believe it. I sat in the spot he left me for at least 30 minutes before I was scared off by a stranger, and then I sat in a very visible, heavily trafficked area next to a creek that was maybe a quarter mile from where I started with no visual barriers whatsoever for another 2.5. I never saw or heard him drive by once. I remember listening closely for him because his truck is loud and I would have heard it coming. I can see now that he has put me in grave danger. Maybe even more danger than I realized at the time. He has still not apologized, but I don't expect him to because he thinks he is right in this. I'm going to try and remove him from my life and spend some time alone. I will admit that in my quest for love and closeness, I have let him and other men treat me less than great just to keep them around. Thank you all again for helping me understand what a doormat I've been. In trying to force this man to love me, I have forgotten to love myself. There is no coming back from this. He left you with zero concern for your safety. He made his decision about how he feels about you. He left you on the side of the road like trash. His behavior and abuse are unacceptable. What you are describing is the cycle of abuse. You need to make your decision. You need to leave him like the piece of garbage he is. Truly, your safety needs to be your concern. Marriage won't change him or make it better. Sister, you need to leave. You could have been raped and killed, or worse. And yes, there is worse. Do not fall for any more excuses. He is an abusive, dangerous, thoughtless man. You deserve better. Please gather up your courage and leave him. You can expect many years of this to come unless you break up the cycle now. The abuse will get worse, to the point it could end your life. Get out now while you can. Make a list of people you can count on and trust. Make a list of phone numbers for emergencies and prepare your finances. You do not deserve this. Girl, stop saying you love him. He's abusive, he's a horrible partner. Love alone isn't enough to make any relationship work. Do yourself a favor, move on. My 26F husband's 30M best friend, 29M, just kissed me and I'm unsure of what to do. I, 26F, am an immigrant that recently relocated to another country to be with my husband, 30M, after being long distance with him for several years. Needless to say, my husband is my best friend and I love him deeply. Because I've struggled making my own friends here, I am on friendly terms with my husband's friends. They are all for the most part decent people and welcomed me with open arms, which I am grateful for. We all occasionally hang out and it's never really been an issue. Recently, I began planning a surprise party for my husband's birthday and I figured I would reach out to his friends about planning to see if they wanted to help. Enter my husband's best friend Adam, 29M. Adam has been my husband's friend for about 10 years now. Adam is married with a wife of his own who I am friends with. Adam immediately was very supportive of my ideas and was insistent on helping. Many times he offered to drive me around the city to go to different stores since my husband and I don't have a car, which I would decline since I didn't want to cause him any hassle. He would offer to use his place of work as the location for the party. He works at a fancy restaurant. Again, I would decline because my husband isn't the type of person to enjoy birthday celebrations like that, but I would let him know I appreciated his kind offer and that I felt he was being a very kind and generous friend. He was fairly persistent, but I figured it was just because he wanted to make his friend's birthday memorable. Fast forward to this week, Adam texted me and told me he had his birthday gift for my husband, but he would need help loading it up in his car. I asked about what it was, but he just said a joke about how I would tell my husband, so I couldn't know. I didn't think anything of it and agreed to help him today. We drove to the store, got the gift, wrapped, but it was big and heavy, and drove back. He put the car in park and as I started getting out, he reached out to me and kissed me. I was taken aback and immediately pulled away. I asked him what he was doing and he said that he thought I was cute and he wanted to shoot his shot. I asked him about my husband and he said that he didn't need to know. I was just overwhelmed and couldn't begin to wrap my mind around what was happening. He apologized and said he thought I was sending signals because of me saying he was a kind and generous person. He then said that my husband can't know about it because my husband would blame me and would divorce me, I'd have to go back to my home country, etc. I got out the car and just went inside. My husband was at work, so he doesn't know. I have a lot of conflicting feelings. I know I want to tell my husband because of how Adam went about this proves that he doesn't have my husband's best intentions in mind and is incredibly selfish. My issue arises in how to go about telling him. I am super upset about this whole thing because it's a weird place to be in. I doubt my husband won't believe me because we have a good trust in each other, but I am nervous as to how this will affect the relationship. I'm nervous he will redirect those feelings of betrayal towards me. If that's the case, would it be justified? I just need some guidance on how to approach this for minimal damage to my husband. I know it's bound to happen, but I obviously don't want to hurt him if I can. I appreciate any advice. Edit. I have seen everyone's comments saying to tell my husband the truth. I am planning on telling him when he gets home, however, there seems to be some confusion as to what I'm asking for here. I know I want to tell him, but I am unsure how to tell him without it having an effect on our relationship. My husband is a good man, but no one wants to be the bearer of bad news that their friend that they have known for years is an awful and manipulative person. I don't know how to breach the subject in a gentle way. I tend to let my emotions get the better of me, and this event has me thinking rather compulsively. I don't want to hurt my husband more than necessary. Any advice on how to tell him would be appreciated. Depending on what happens, I'll update when I can. Tell your husband ASAP, before Adam tries to change the narrative and get your husband to side with him. Adam was stupid and disrespectful to you, your husband and his own wife by making a move on you, then turning around and trying to say you gave him signals. I would be very wary around him and I worry what actions he would take to cover his ass. You need to protect yourself. You've done nothing wrong in this situation. Adam's behavior is unacceptable, and the things he said to you to try and keep you quiet are very manipulative. It sounds like you have a trusting relationship with your husband, and if you share what you've written here with him, you can decide together what you want to do next. Tell your husband as soon as possible, because he will lie and say you kissed him first. Tell your husband so he can kick his former best friend's ass. You need to contact your husband right now before his best friend has a chance to say you came onto him. You need to CYA girl. I, F43. Want to leave husband, M39, as he sleeps for days. My husband, M39 has been sleeping since Wednesday morning, around 4 a.m. until now Sunday, 1 p.m. He sleeps for 4-5 days straight without doing anything now. Yes, he sleeps during working hours and only awake maybe once or twice to go to the toilet and eat, then back sleeping again. However, for the entire weekend, Saturday and Sunday, he sleeps the entire day and gets so irritated and angry when try to wake him up. He only eat once and pee once since Saturday and Sunday. He told me he couldn't sleep because he is in pain from high blood pressures and pinched nerve. But I called that bullshit because he can't manage his time. He doesn't sleep for 2-3 nights straight doing his hobby car remodeling or doing his business, then he sleeps for days afterwards. As usual, both myself, F43 and my daughter, 8 are left to do our own activities and feel so left out. I feel like a single mom and I can't even communicate at all. Feels completely disconnected and I grow a lot of hates towards him. I'm also very embarrassed with him, very disheartened and so depressed dealing with this situation. Our bills are behind, our credits are all maxed up and he's just sleeping all the time or busy doing his own car things which cause a lot of mess. I really want to leave and go but I have no money. All my salaries and side hustle goes to this family and he manages the finances now. We've been together for 10 years now. In the beginning he was all kind and fun, but now things have been really challenging between us. We can't even talk or communicate without having arguments. I feel absolutely disconnected and so sick to have to talk to him and being treated like a doormat. Is it too late for me to leave him and take my daughter with me? P.S. I know he had history with drugs before, but I don't know what drugs. Recently I found a lot of aluminum foil balls and lighters in the bathroom. And he often locked himself in the bathroom for hours. Can anyone PLS confirm if this is what a normal drugs user do? I don't have any knowledge or experience with drugs. He has been abusive to me like 5th-6th time now. First one was December 2017 when I found out he was cheating on me while he was on my financial support. Then 2019, 2020 and February 2021. and March 2023 and today, 17th July 2023. I can type now because we had that huge fight and my daughter was awake and screamed to separate us and gasping for air and vomit. I took all my energy to calm her down and get her to sleep, and I will deal with the police and woman shelter tomorrow. Thank you all for your comments. This is not a troll or fake post, how I wish it is. I really appreciate all your inputs and insight. Now I understand that he is using drugs, meth, and he has been lying a lot to me. Around midnight in Sydney time, we had a huge arguments and resulted him to punched my face and we had a big physical altercation. Police came and I had to do report and we were being interrogated. He is now in police custody and both myself and my daughter are still shaking and we couldn't sleep. To say that we are heartbroken is totally understatement. She is close to her dad and she adores her. This has been way too much for me to fathom and I feel sick to my stomach with how uncertain our future will be. Alas, thank you for your support and help today. I don't have any single person to talk to about this and I don't have any family and relatives around. Sadly, friends have been out of the pictures too. Too long did not read. Go to a doctor? Sounds like the dude may be dying honestly. This is 100% meth use. Look, if you have to leave, then leave. He has some serious condition he should be going to the doctor for. However, if he doesn't want to, you have to prioritize your daughter and she needs food. He manages the finances now. Don't give him any money. You manage the money from now on. How is he managing money if he sleeps for 5 days straight? He doesn't even pay the bills. Sounds like you might be married to a meth head.